Hi, Claire Wasserman here, founder and author of Ladies Get Paid, a podcast, newsletter, and book that helps you build a better work life. My client today is a fellow coach who helps people find greater job satisfaction and work life balance. If you've ever struggled with marketing your services or feel uncomfortable about, quote, selling yourself or defining your niche, you will find tremendous value in our discussion. We dive into content creation strategies, how to build an effective marketing funnel, and the critical mindset shifts that we need to grow our business. So, whether you also are a coach or any other kind of service provider or business owner, the frameworks that Jordan and I explore will help you clarify your message and connect with your ideal clients. Let's dive in.
I've never been great at bragging about myself. I've worked for a couple of years now and not hesitating every single time I give myself a compliment,
Mhm.
but selling myself, and I know the value I have to give, but that's definitely a hurdle, like a mental hurdle, I think, more than anything for me. So the marketing, getting myself out there is great, but then how, like taking that person from initial interest or seeing what I have or filling out a form to getting them actually to be a client. And
Mm-hmm.
that could be both one-on-one coaching, that could be in the team development space where I go to a company and facilitate a workshop, is just how do I sell myself? How do I show that value,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's that solution that I'm providing to a lot of common problems that you're seeing in the workspace.
I'm going to ask you a few more questions and then I will
Yeah,
start talking. So,
yeah.
just detail out exactly who's your ideal customer and what is the thing that you're offering them.
Yes. So my ideal customer is a little bit twofold, but they go hand in hand. So, like for one-on-one, somebody really looking for job satisfaction, but only in the sense that their life feels off balance.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who really wants to make sure they can give their family and their friends the best of them, not the rest of them after work drains them.
Yeah.
So it's really about how do you help? We spend so much of our time at work, and our managers have such a huge impact on our mental health, even. There's so many studies about that now. Is how do we, one, help the individual better find that balance, but two, then from the team and company development side, is how do you reset this idea of what culture is to be a culture of empathy, be a culture of embracing individuals
Mm-hmm.
and not, and then when people are happy, when they're doing great work, when they feel understood, when they're doing the work that really pertains to them and speaks to them, um, that turns into all the benefits a company's looking for. You get better results. You have less employee turnover. You have happier humans in your business, which means that you're not going to have all the friction. You're always going to have some friction, but less of it. And so it's really about just helping people feel seen and understood and making that work life better so their entire life is better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So on one side, it's individuals looking for alignment in their careers effectively. And then on the other side, it's helping managers at companies support their team better so that they are doing better work. Did I get that right?
Yeah, yeah. And so what I keep being drawn to is this idea of resetting and reframing what culture is in a workplace.
Mm-hmm. Last question before we dive into it. Where are you currently
Yeah,
getting your clients?
currently through either word of mouth,
Mm-hmm.
through people I know, or via LinkedIn.
And what are you doing on LinkedIn?
Posting a variety of posts from my personal profile that's more what is coaching, really starting with the basics right now. So what is coaching? What is the benefit of a coach? Different stories and reminders that are just like little nuggets I may give in a coaching session, but not saying it that way.
Mhm.
And just sharing my story and being vulnerable and helping more or less build that credibility, especially with people that don't personally know me.
You're not bragging about yourself, you're bragging about your service. So it's service promotion, not
Yes.
self promotion. Now, of course, given what you and I do, they're inextricably tied, right? Like our personal stories are a huge piece of what we're talking about here. And I feel like to be an incredible coach, you do have to have gone through a number of things. So it's hard to make that distinction between self and service, but it's important to make that distinction, especially when you are
Mhm.
pricing your service. I almost said pricing yourself. No, pricing your service. Because when it's pricing
Yeah,
ourselves, we're
sure.
priceless, baby. I don't want
Yeah.
to put a price tag on my like human being, but human doing, right?
Yeah.
My service, my business, the value exchange for that service in a system of capitalism, heck yeah, I'm going to be $5,000 for 60 minutes if I'm at a company. Whereas if it's just you and it's individuals and oh, I start to feel really icky about that. It is important to remind yourself that it is service, not self. Okay. Now, that's the mindset. Then there's the content of what we're putting out there. And then the process, I guess I would say the container. What are we putting the content into? So, what platforms are we using? And then the process of when somebody interacts with a piece of our content, what's the journey we're taking them on as we build trust with them, as we build a relationship with them, which, because you said, how do we take them from initial interaction to point of sales? All that sound good so far?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So let's talk about content first. What are the things that when you look at the work that you've done, so not the work that you've posted online or any of that, but just as you reflect on real people that you've helped or real aha moments in your own life that have felt quite profound for you, that have reminded you why you do this, why you were making a sacrifice to do this, why you have had sort of conflict with your parents to do this. There were specific experiences that you had that made you realize this is worth doing. So take a minute and just think about that and then tell me what comes to mind.
Yeah. There are just a few moments that really stick out to me. And I knew I wanted to manage people and I wanted to do it well. I
Mhm,
didn't want to just be somebody that was had the title and didn't do it well and didn't actually better the lives of people.
mhm,
And I had this phenomenal manager who she really did push me and coach me and did more of the question-based management, if you will, which is similar to coaching where you're helping them get to their answer. And after just even a few months of being a manager, even though I had like indirectly managed people for a while, she looked at me and she's like, you have such a natural knack for this.
mhm,
She's like, I have already seen so much growth and you're not even an actual titled manager yet. And so that's a moment that really sticks with me. And then also pushing myself in the past years to be more vulnerable and have that more personal connection. That's something I've worked a lot on. And I had a friend, and she was a person I managed, and she had come back from a huge life event. She had actually just had her first baby.
mhm,
And before, so she actually was only with us for a month and then went on maternity leave and then came back. And I had been very vulnerable with her because I was working through anxiety. And my generalized anxiety had upgraded to severe anxiety, and I was struggling with it. And so I decided to be very vulnerable with my team on the days where I just really felt it. And I could tell right away in the morning when I was super on edge. And I was like, okay, I'm on edge. I'm not processing things as quickly. So just please be patient with me today. And when she came back, she and I had a one-on-one and we were actually sitting down and chatting. And she told me that she actually had a pretty serious bout of postpartum depression.
mhm,
And she went and got help from a
mhm,
doctor.
mhm,
And she looked at me and she's, I want to thank you for talking to me about your anxiety and your struggles because that's what gave me the confidence or the ability or the willingness to go ask for help rather than trying to battle it on my own.
mhm. Okay.
That was the moment for me when I'm like, this is so much bigger
Mhm,
than just helping people do their job better or anything like that.
mhm,
So yeah, that was a heartwarming moment for me.
mhm. Okay. When I had asked you that question, I was going to then ask a bunch of other questions based off of that,
Sure,
but I think I'm actually going to switch tactics a little bit and
sure.
be able to prompt you in something that will give you really a great framework for coming up with content ideas that you can use for marketing. So think of all the blockers. And by the way, I just came up with this based on something you said because you talked about your anxiety. So I want you to think for a second about all of the blockers that you have experienced, whether it's in your own life or in the people's lives that you've already helped or that you would like to help. And anything and everything, internal, external, whatever. The more blockers you can come up with, the better. Okay. So the things that are stopping them from living their life and creating the career that they desire. Okay. So just take a second to think about that. Then think about all the things that you would do for them or for you that would enable the transformation. So how do we get them from point A, which is the blocked area, to point C, which is the results they desire? B, which is the middle part, is the transformation. And that's the part that's really uncomfortable, painful, sticky. People don't go through it often. They stay stuck because it's too scary to make change by themselves, right? And this is why we hire coaches, we hire therapists, accountability people, etc. So you specialize in point B, the transformation. And we need to tell people more about what happens during the transformation period. And then, of course, connect it to the results. You think about all the blockers. And now I want you to think about all the things that you would do with them. And I don't mean abstract things. We would have a call. No. Breathing.
big.
Like it could be anything from like a micro. In the story that you just shared with me, it was about this woman saying, hey, when you talked about your story, it allowed me to feel less shame. Okay. So then you might say, all right, so part of the transformation is learning to be vulnerable or whatever. Okay. Write out all the areas of transformation, micro and macro, that you are guiding somebody through. Then challenge yourself if you could pick 52 topics. So that is one post a week. Now I'm going to tell you to do more than one post a week, but let's just start with an umbrella topic. 52 topics. I've done this for myself, by the way. 52 topics based off of blockers and transformation or growth. I think you're going to find you're going to really easily be able to come up with 52. It's not going to be a stretch. Also, when you come up with the 52, you may very well see patterns, which could be interesting because that's also going to indicate to you, here's where my specialties really lie. Here's my method based off of all these 52 subjects of a blocker to transformation or the experience of transformation, 4 tent poles really that I'm walking people through, right? What I'm effectively trying to do here with you, Jordan, is to give you a way in which to organize your thoughts around content.
Yeah.
Because before we can get into where are we posting, what's the funnel, but that
Yeah.
doesn't fucking matter if you don't have good shit to say. And if you are coming up
Correct.
with stuff on the fly, you are going to be very anxious. You're going to always feel like you're running behind because you are. You're coming up with it last minute. No, we need to know going into this month, everything's planned out as best as possible. With, by the way, I plan shit out. I am constantly scrapping it and coming up with new things because I come up with better ideas. But the point is, you have at least that framework to organize your thoughts. It'll also act as a mirror to you and to what you're actually doing here, where you're like, I am coaching people in this way. So not just I am coaching people. Oh, that's a little, anyone could do that. I'm doing it.
Sure.
So I'm coaching people in
Yeah.
this way. It just really, like I said, organizes your thoughts, especially knowing that you're prone to anxiety, which, by the way, it's 2024. Who isn't? We really need framework, and they're not going to feel constricting to you. They're actually going to feel freeing. Talk to me about your initial reaction, what's resonating, what ideas are coming to mind, and let's go from there.
Yeah. For me personally, I feel like those are the posts, the stories, the blogs, wherever people put them on the podcast that I resonate with. When you see, this is what I've struggled with, this is what's been my block, and this is what happened, quote unquote, that transformation
Mm-hmm.
that got me to this much better place I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And that I've got a million stories popping into my head. I'm like anxiety before I ever realized that's what I had. I did the work. I went to a doctor, I went to therapy, and came out so much stronger on the other side. And that's probably not one that I would do here, but even that is one that's popping to
No, but
mind.
it would be though, because you might decide when you look at that story. So it's actually a really good exercise, taking a snippet of a
Yeah.
story and then saying, what is the lesson that I'm sharing for somebody here that will help them in their transformation? And then we can have a seamless call to action to work with me. And one I can think of right there is tools in your toolbox, right? So like when you're in an experience that doesn't feel good and you want to make change, there isn't one answer. You don't just snap your fingers and everything's fine.
Yeah,
You seek medication can be great. Yoga can be great. Mindset shifts from a coach can be great. Deeper therapy work, like it's not one book that changes it. It's maybe these three books, right? So you would make the larger point about creating a tool people that would help them through an experience like anxiety. And then the call to action is, of course, let me be one of those tools in your box kind of thing.
I love that.
Yeah. But I also want to think about process, right? So when somebody thinks of you having a pretty good understanding of what it is that you walk them through. So not just you're having this problem and here's the result, because anyone
Hmm.
can post that on their website or post online about it. But I want people to understand when they work with you, what is the not just experience, but people really love to see they're walking you through. I don't know. I recommend 6 sessions. The first session is this. If they're going to spend their money with you, they want to know up front, like, what exactly are they getting that will make them take a chance on you? Unless you're a famous person. Listen, I've got 50,000 people in my newsletter, and sometimes people sign up for coaching with me because they don't need to see anything else other than the fact I've been doing this for years. But that's not everybody. Like, they really want a heads up on exactly what they are getting step by step, the method, so to speak, that you are putting them through. And that also makes it official, validates you a little bit when you're able to say, this is the Jordan process here of we'll do journaling, get just make as transparent as possible, like opening up the black box of what happens during coaching with you specifically. Okay. So just not in general, but like your process that will also help you stand out. And I think make people trust you. Does that resonate?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. But I would say next steps from here, yeah, do some brainstorming of if you were to pick 52 topics, and most likely those topics are going to all be blockers of some kind.
Yeah,
And it could be everything from like, why do people feel even blocked from seeking help? So just let your brain get as big as possible. And then based on
yeah.
those 52 topics, if you could milk them as much as possible in the sense of, yes, that is one topic per week, but is it possible to cut it up into 3 topics based
Hmm.
off of that one? Because obviously I'd love for you to be posting more than once a week. That would be
Hmm.
great. And then experiment with formats here. I know LinkedIn is rewarding videos. How comfortable are you with being on camera?
Pretty comfortable. Yeah. And
Okay,
even
you'll get
like
more
me being
comfortable.
on camera or even creating a little animated video, either one.
Yeah, it could be study what other people are doing that you really respect.
Yeah.
I've been doing that recently in terms of like people telling stories where they'll have a slideshow of photos. And then, so it doesn't necessarily have to be you on camera, but as you're experimenting with this stuff, though, do ask yourself, would I be excited to do this consistently? And if the answer is no, then don't do it because it's the
I
consistency
love that. That's great.
that's really most important here. And so maybe you end up challenge yourself to pick maybe like 3 formats. So maybe you're going to do use Canva, a series of slideshows with text or one thing with text. Maybe another thing will be just a photo of you with a personal story. Then maybe another thing will be a video that's 3 tips. At this point, it's about experimenting to see what you get most excitement around creating and also what's resonating with others. But as you're experimenting, I don't want it to feel like you're a mad scientist. Again, there should be a framework to it where you're saying, I'm trying X number of formats this week or for the next 2 weeks, and then look at this next quarter as what experiments am I going to run in terms of content. I think all of it should be funneling into a newsletter. So you're trying to build a relationship with people here. And that's the best way to make that relationship. Do you currently have a newsletter?
No, but it's been on my to-do list of something that I think this past week I finally decided, like, yes, I definitely want to do one.
Yeah. If you don't have people's emails, you don't have anything. You're just like LinkedIn owns all the contacts. Like you really need a way to connect with people one on one. And by asking for somebody's email doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have a newsletter ready to go for them. It could be, hey, when I am going to send out information about stuff, like you just get on the send me your email. No one will give you their email unless they're already getting something. So this is when I want you to think about what's the free thing that you can provide to somebody that will bring them value, that really exemplifies the transformation that you're going to walk them through. And this is really hard because it sometimes feels like you have to take everything that you do and put it into just one thing. But when you take some time and think about it, it's actually very liberating because you realize, this is what represents me. When somebody goes through this free piece of content, whether it's a webinar or a PDF guide to a thing, a list of steps or whatever, it is going to make them have at least a mindset shift that will get them excited about their growth. And then it's, don't you want to get to your growth even faster? That's when you should connect with me, and connect with me for a free 20-minute phone call. That'll be maybe the next step of the relationship that you take with them. Off the top of your head, do you have a sense of what that free content could be? It's called a lead magnet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually have a couple that I've been working on, and I have a list of probably 15
Okay.
ideas jotted down. So anything from impactful one-on-one conversations, like between a manager and the employee, like
Mm-hmm.
just jotted down, like this is a framework you could follow to make sure that conversation's impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like priority, like an Eisenhower matrix. I know a lot of people know about it, but not everybody. And so
Mm-hmm.
just ways to prioritize and figure out, again, how do you make work better? How do you make it less stressful? And being able to prioritize, being able to delegate, being able to figure out what those things are that really light your fire and what lights other people's fires that you can be delegating to them as well and giving them opportunities to grow. Yeah, I think tools like that are ones that I've created for myself in the past, but could easily turn into a shareable resource.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So would something like
Ooh,
manager, the only reason I'm thinking that could be good is because the person that you engage with is clearly looking for help as the individual, but would also probably have an incentive to want to get you to lead a training at their company.
yeah,
Because that's how what I've done in my business is all of the trainings I do at companies have come organically inbound through the community that I already built with Ladies Get Paid. So individuals are experiencing my trainings themselves, and then they go, "Oh, holy crap, can you come into my company and do this?"
I
So
like
that
that.
I don't feel like I have to market myself into two different ways, creating more work for myself. It's really starting with the individual, giving them the tools to manage up, and then saying, hey, at the end of the PDF and also at the end of any kind of conversation or trainings you do with them, you say, I'm also available for companies, and here's the page on my website for that. The best person to probably introduce me to would be, and then on your end, you need to know who are the decision makers at these companies and give them maybe like a couple of sentences to copy and paste in an email for you to make that introduction.
Yeah,
So leveraging the person who already got benefit from you to make the introduction, to be that sales pipeline for you. It's just going to be really organic and it's win. Or I guess it's win, right? Um,
yeah,
just know that whatever lead magnet, so less is more. And I've learned this the hard way myself, where I've done a whole bunch of stuff and got to see what sticks. And, it's necessary, but it takes time to then weed through, what worked and what didn't work. I would probably recommend you starting with a pretty clear problem that you're helping somebody with, maybe even more specific than what you've put on your website.
yes,
A really good person to check out who does this, I think, very well. You may be familiar with her already, but her name is Melody Wilding. I want you to check out her website.
yeah, okay.
First of all, on her website, pop up of a lead magnet, and it's steal these scripts for saying no at work. Okay, so get the exact phrasing to whatever, you'll see it. Really emulate people out there who are successful doing this well, and just write down what you observe about them, what the kind of copy they're using, the call to action, how clear it is, where it is even on the website. You're going to start to see so many patterns here. Like, you're not recreating the wheel. There's a way to do this. And her stuff is, it's tired of getting in your own way. She calls herself the executive coach for sensitive strivers. Then it's break free from imposter syndrome and overthinking so you can find the confidence to lead effectively. And then she has resilient program, private coaching, online courses. Love for you to go through her offerings, and you're going to see how she starts with kind of an umbrella thesis. This tired of getting in your own way, break free from imposter syndrome and overthinking so you can find the confidence to lead effectively. But within that, she has other categories that organically stem from it. And so you think you're going to start to see again this method, this process, this formalization of what it is to work with her and what her brand is. That will guide everything that you do. It will indicate to you out of those 15 ideas that you generated for those
Mhm.
lead magnets, it'll become clear which one is the right one. As you go through the 52 topics, which by the way, I want you to brainstorm these things without looking at anybody else first. Really start from as you remember the blockers in your life and others and the transformation. So that should really come from you. But then you look at, okay, based off of how I'm Melody being a good example, okay, maybe we are whittling things down to really much smaller than I thought before. And that's good because otherwise, if you're doing too much, you're doing nothing, you're just not memorable. We need you to stick in people's mind as Jordan is the person who X to Y and it's badass. And she does it in this way. And you've definitely said the right things in the beginning, but I want you to drill it down even further, which again, when you look through melodies, you might start to see more of what I'm saying. Though do give me any pushback if there's stuff that you want me to clarify or you feel like you are doing it. I just, again, also I'm speaking from personal experience of being quite wide and then needing to narrow down.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. And I definitely know what you're talking about with my website because I was like, okay, let's cast a wide net. And then as I grow, learn, experience, really try to figure out what is that thing, that's where I'm getting there. I feel like I've made a lot of progress of having no idea what I wanted to do to getting closer. So yes, I definitely will go look at Melody and see what she's doing because I know my website, I've even got some notes about, okay, Jordan, instead of saying what you'll do is what is the value you'll provide. So flipping the script a little bit on
Yes.
some of the content too.
Yeah, and I gotta say, you really can't have, I think, on one website marketing and coaching. You have to have two separate websites. It just distracts from it. Yeah,
I
making
agree.
okay. So then when you're meeting people, like you're sending them one way or the other, and if it's one way to figure out really what your specialty is in the process, like you have the general sense, which is great, and then but like digging into more specifics the only way I think you're going to figure that out is by doing. And it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg because you're like, hello, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get clients. I can do this thing. This is when I started to coach. I was having a similar issue. I was actually just feeling quite unmotivated in general. So I was out of touch with connecting with people. I was running the business, but not really coaching. I just started to do 30-minute sessions with, in my case, Ladies Get Paid Pro members. I said, hey, I want to do 30-minute sessions with you guys for free. If you're a member, come and sign up. And that's part of what gave me the idea to start this podcast because I was like, these sessions are amazing. Other people should hear them. But it was showing me what my own style was. And also, what part of the coaching process am I specifically getting excited about? Topics, and also within those topics, data. I was collecting data about myself, about my audience, about my process, both for me to know, but also how do I communicate it to others. I would not be able to figure anything out unless I was actually doing it. Otherwise, you're making it up in your head. And that's just, it's not real. We lie to ourselves or we confuse ourselves. So I would ask you, what's a way that you can make sure that you are continually flexing the coaching muscle, which probably means at this point, again, maybe not charging for it or not charging much. And could there be a value exchange? So for me, I have this podcast, like you're getting this for free, but it's not out of the goodness of my heart necessarily. Like we're going to use it to market my services and also provide value to other people who listen in on the podcast. When I was doing the 30 minutes for pro members, I said, this is an exchange for me being able to write about it on LinkedIn. And I changed people's names. Hey, I met with this client. They were experiencing this. And here were the three things that I told them that was helpful. So same thing for you. Let's say you're going to say, I'm going to do sessions for people for $20 right now, or for free in exchange for, again, the ability to post about it and you'll be anonymous. So just wrap your head around that. Because at least for me, that's been quite helpful in, like I said, showing me what the heck I'm actually doing here, who I'm doing it for, why I'm doing it, and then crafting content and communication using real coaching sessions. Tell me if that's resonating with you.
Absolutely. Because I think that's where, as I've been learning and processing and kind of developing this business, I was like, okay, I'll just start with coaching. I'll cast a really wide net and then I'll narrow down. But I learned that I even have to narrow down before I cast the net.
Mm.
And so I think that's where I'm at is okay, I've narrowed down. It's given me some clarity. And now it's time to almost do some testing, do some.
Mhm.
I'm a very much a data person. So when you talk data, that
Yep. Yep.
resonates huge with me. So I'm like, okay, so what does actually resonate? What are, I can gather that from LinkedIn and what people are sharing. I can gather it from conversations with people, friends and family. I can gather it from doing mini sessions, like you were just saying.
Or group
And
sessions, no free, a
yeah,
free, like
that's
I,
true.
for many years did, it was first weekly and then I did monthly job seeker support group and I did live coaching with a person in front of everybody. I also did something called BYOL, bring your own lunch, where there was no coaching, but there was like a topic and people would come and like share. And so focus grouping, my instinct, and you tell me otherwise, I think there's a lot there. And I feel like you could really build out an incredible resource for people who are coming because they're struggling with their manager or they're new in their career and they are freaked out. So maybe there is no issue with the manager, but it's more like, yikes. Because think about all the issues that we have when we're scared of our manager or scared of messing up. We overwork, we overthink, we make assumptions. I don't know, like we make mistakes and then don't know how to recover from the mistakes. The balance of being honest and transparent with your manager, but got to do it strategically. I think if you were to maybe challenge yourself in those 52 topics that I mentioned, what would it be like to come up with 52 topics related to managing your manager? An experience. And then maybe on the flip side, managing down too. You are the manager and how do you speak to your team? And maybe your specialty ends up being it's all about Gen Z or young people managing like new people to your team. Or maybe you're specializing in top performers, managing top performers, right? Those are different issues that a new person on a company, a young person would have versus, God, I say young person because I'm like old now, but niching as much as possible to me will give you a foothold and then you can balloon out from there. So unless you feel like that suggestion, if it's not feeling right to you, then absolutely collect more data. But if you're like, that managing your manager piece, managing up, managing down, that slice of the employment experience does resonate a ton with me. And I'm going to give myself a shot of coming up with tons of topics around that. Then I would say create a website, create content, whether it's like the lead magnet, it's gathering free gatherings, free coaching, one-on-one, group, etc. All about that. That is where you begin. And only until you have seen traction there that you then would expand, okay, what would be the next topic that supports or would be like the natural next step to somebody who is interested in, okay, they manage their manager correctly. What next for them? So then you're just supporting the person on the journey that they're already going on, but you got to start the journey somewhere with them. So where's that point that we're beginning? And for me, it was salary negotiation, right? That's the foothold. So tell me how that's resonating to you, because instinctually, that's what I'm feeling is right for you, but I'm not in your business. So what are your thoughts and feelings?
I think that's so interesting. And I do honestly think I could come up with 50 topics around it. I do. I think between owning that relationship, even as a managee, if you will, and it's the same concept as like leading up, leading laterally. It's all of those things, but it's more from a management perspective as well.
Mhm.
And how, it's almost like taking control of your destiny a little bit too, because right, your managers are typically in charge of your promotions. They're in charge of all these things. And I've had so many conversations with folks who are like, why has this department gotten promoted 3 times and we haven't seen a promotion? I was like, have you talked to your manager about it? Have you
Mhm.
made a plan on what you need to do to get promoted? And they're like, no.
Mhm.
So it's so interesting because yeah, you almost take control of your destiny, your
Yes.
career.
And they're the gatekeeper in so many ways. And also, you have data out there that you can use on the flip side for when you're appealing to the companies to hire you. There's so much data that says, I think the number one reason that people leave companies is because of a poor relationship with their manager. And
Yes.
attrition like that, when people leave companies, so not being fired, but when they choose to leave, actually is a major money loss for companies. Um,
Yes.
so I think that's the point in which the transformation that you're going to bring people, that's the blocker. So when I look at your website and it says, right now it says unlocking potential, igniting growth, too abstract. Even if
Mhm.
that's what you're actually doing, like this for you and I, like it is frustrating sometimes because we're like, but this is really what I'm doing. It almost doesn't matter. You need to dress it up and then somebody, it's like putting makeup on it. So like the makeup is going to be, or like the costume that we're putting on it is going to be about managing up and down or just managing up for right now. And then once we enter the world, okay, we see what we're really doing is unlocking potential and igniting growth, but through the vehicle of managing up. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why this is such an iterative process because you're starting in a place that is absolutely correct, but because there's a million and a half things on the internet and coaches out there, it almost like we got to dress it up a little differently to get people to understand why they should participate with you. And then, I see this is unlocking potential, igniting growth. I even joke with I have a goal group that I run called Gain Career Clarity. And the joke is it's actually about just gaining clarity. Like it's about your life. But if I just said life clarity, it just throws it too big for people to understand me. And I've been always through like the money and work lens. But once you start participating in it, you realize, oh, these are life skills, not just career skills. So that's my rant on that. We are technically at time. So I would say in the closing part of this session, you've got great foundational stuff to get started. The pipeline and the process, right? So getting somebody to give you their email and then what you're walking them through to develop that relationship. There are so many resources out there that will give you that
Mhm.
formula. I'll just tell you one right off the bat that's good. It's called Level Up Creators. So the website is WeLevelUpCreators.com. And the person who runs it is Amanda Northcutt. She works with people in a consulting, does consulting. She also has a school. You could also choose not to participate in anything that's paid. And she's got courses and guides that are free, just like you'll do as well. And just like I do in Melody Wilding, when people go to Melody's site, they say, hey, get these free scripts. Right. And you'll do the same thing. You'll say, get these free. I think scripts actually would be great for you when somebody's in a certain scenario with their manager and they just want to know what to say. Just give that away. Just give that away. They will download that. Trust me. People are always coming to me being like, but just tell me, what do I say? What do I say? That's all I want to know. So she's great. Another person to check out is Jay Klaus. He is creatorscience.com. Okay. So they are two fantastic people when it comes to more pipeline. You get them in the door, and then now we got to open the door to paying me money. We'll open the door to the credit card. There are people who specialize in that, and they are fantastic. But how are you feeling about the direction, the niche, the content as the foundation that we went over today?
Feel really strongly about it. I love that idea, especially like the content piece and how to frame up how to think about content because I have a cajillion ideas, right? I have a board of probably 150 posts that I'm like, yes, this resonated. I could do something like this, but giving it a little bit more of that framework, like you said, is it reduces the analysis paralysis, if you will, and really just helps give you a path to follow versus saying, here's the wild wilderness,
Right.
go have fun.
Correct. Correct. And it will, again, this is for you and anybody else. I don't think you've had any resistance to what I'm saying, but I know it can sometimes feel really restrictive when you're told, oh, like you're making me pick amongst all my things. And it's no, it's just the first step. Because if you don't have a strong foothold, you're never going to be able to continue walking. It's just starting with the thing that you are really excited about. As niche as it might appear, if you were to work with somebody continuing manner, this would be an integral part of that process. That person would go on also, right? Managing up would absolutely always be a part of the thing that you're talking to them about. So don't feel like it is blocking you from the ability to do other things. It's just, again, the first step on the road to more, which I know you will get to. And I'm so appreciative of you, Jordan. Thank you for being here and keep me posted.
Thank you so much, Claire. This has been absolutely wonderful. Appreciate you.
Yay.